fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Ultraman Blazar Fadoran armor set from the Ultra action figure line from Bandai. So this is pretty much Blazar's only power-up form throughout the whole series, but it does come with some nice accessories here. You have the Chalcedonite sword, you have the Fadoran attachment, which gives him the armor, and then I gotta be honest, I really don't know what this piece over here is. Maybe we'll figure that out. It shows this spinning wheel, which I believe comes with another set, and then it looks like that attaches in some way. I'm not 100% sure. I have not seen all of Blazar. I have not seen most of Blazar, so I'll be honest, I don't know what this spinning color wheel thing is going on here, or if this is meant to attach to it or not. Feel free to educate me in the comments. In any case, I think the figure looks pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and get him out of the packaging here, and we'll take a closer look. Alright, so here is Blazar with the Fadoran armor out of the packaging. It's honestly a really cool looking figure. I do think this form is really neat. I love the kind of flames and everything they have going on here. So basically what they've done here, they have this kind of orange paint here on the torso, which makes sense. But then they've actually used an orange translucent plastic for the shoulder pad here, as well as the forearm. But then they went back to the weird orange paint here for the hand. And I have to say, I really kind of wish that they had done the hand out of the same translucent plastic as the forearm, but I'm guessing that the hand, like, fingers were too intricate, and so they couldn't do that because of how tiny it is. I feel like maybe with the translucent plastic, if they tried to drill a hole that small, it would have been a problem. But the funny thing is, you can see that the inside of the fingers are not painted. So he's still got a little bit of gray there on the inside of the finger. And then honestly, this is just kind of like really caked on. So the fingers were stuck together a little bit and stuck to the thumb when I first pulled it out of the packaging. I'm kind of worried that over time this paint is going to flake off, but we'll see. So again, I wish they could have done it out of the translucent plastic so it all matched, but I'm guessing that it just wasn't possible because of how kind of small and intricate the hand is. That's my guess anyway. But other than that, I think he looks really cool. The head sculpt looks great. Pretty typical Blazar design there. I don't think the head changes at all for this form. But beautiful metallic blue paint, the silver for the head. All of that looks really sharp. All of the red and blue throughout the body looks really good. The black as well. Don't really get any paint here on the back, but that's pretty typical for these figures. But yeah, overall, I think it looks pretty cool. Again, articulation is pretty standard. Look down pretty decently. Look up a little bit. Certainly turn side to side, no problem. You can even tilt side to side a little bit. You get a hinge here in the shoulder as well as a rotation. And even though you have the giant shoulder pad over here, doesn't really hinder articulation all that much. You can see this arm can go up a little bit higher than this one, but not by a ton, honestly. So I think that's kind of cool. And of course you can rotate forward as well. You have a bicep swivel, 90 degrees there at the elbow. And then you have a wrist swivel as well as those two sets of fingers that I showed earlier. I just think it's funny that they still are sticking with this kind of hand. I feel like this kind of hand has been around over 10 years now. And I think they could come up with something better, honestly, than just these two sets of fingers. Because it doesn't really grab weapons all that well. I'd almost rather just kind of have like a molded hand like that. But then I guess you couldn't do the, different beam poses and things. Or maybe some interchangeable hands might be an option. But nothing at the waist. You can kick pretty decently forward and pretty decently out to the side. There's no thigh swivel. You used to be able to move these around a little bit on the actual hip, but I don't feel that happening anymore. Oh, looks like I got a little bit of, there we go, a little paint flake there from the plastic, but that comes right off. So yeah, nothing in the thigh. I would say definitely over 90, maybe 120 in the knee, something like that. And then you have ball joints down here for the ankle. So you can do side to side, front to back a little bit, certainly rotate all the way around. So I think these are fun figures, but they're just missing a couple key articulation points. And they've kind of always been that way since they first started out. They've never had a thigh cut. These hands have been the same forever, and I don't love those. It's kind of why I've started to gravitate more towards the Chodo line, which is basically the Ultraman candy toy line. So they're basically in scale with like Soto Shoto. They have more articulation, usually more accessories. And these figures are kind of in between. They're not quite 6 inches, but they're maybe 5.5, something like that. I'm trying to see if I have anything that could compare. Well, here's a 5-inch Ghostbuster action figure. Maybe they are 6 inches. Do I have a 6-inch figure anywhere handy? Here we go. Here's a Marvel Legends Lizard. But he's also kind of squat. So I don't know. Maybe, yeah, I would say somewhere between like 5.5 and 6. I don't think they're quite 6 inches, but they're close. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird size. It doesn't scale with much else, which is another reason I've kind of... Again, it doesn't really make sense for Ultraman to scale with, like, you know, Sentai and Kamen Rider because he's such a larger hero that he's not street level. But then these don't really scale with those either. So they're just... I mean, these are good figures. I do think they look nice, but they are kind of a out-of-bounds scale. And there's just a couple things that I feel like if this is going to be closer to a 6-inch figure, if that's what they're going for, just a couple of key, like it should have a waist swivel, should have a thigh swivel, and they need to do something better with these hands. But I mean, they've been doing them this way for a while, so it's silly to complain about it now, but I just thought I'd bring it up. He does come with a lot of accessories, though. I will say that is one area they've definitely improved this line. They have started including accessories. All of the early releases had nothing in terms of accessories, so it's very exciting to see that here. So we do get the Chilsonite sword here. It is done in a kind of translucent blue plastic, but it does have some nice silver paint here above the blade. And then you also have a little bit of purple here for that stone. And he can hold this decently well. Again, you have to kind of just close those fingers around, but it works. And I think that looks kind of cool. Now, he also has the Fadoran attachment piece. This is also done in translucent blue plastic. You can tell because of the inside there. And they have just caked on this paint. Very similar to the hand over here. It's not sloppy, but it almost feels sloppy because there's a lot of molded in detail, but because they've had to really cake on this paint, I feel like you lose a lot of it. But when you start with the dark translucent plastic, I understand why you have to cake the paint on. But you can attach this. It just pops right onto the end of the Chilsonite sword. So it's a little snug, but I guess that's better than having it fall off. But there you go. So you can have him, again, hold this in this hand. So there you go. Now he's all transformed up with his dual blade there. So I think that looks kind of cool. And then I was wrong. This thing is included in the packaging. It is a circle of kind of clear plastic. It's fairly sturdy. To me, it looks like a CD, you know, or maybe Bob Ross is getting ready to put in a happy little tree, something like that. But I guess this is some kind of attack that he, you know, powers up and throws at somebody. So this little piece here that I couldn't tell what it was, you can see that there's actually a slit down the center, and this is supposed to be like a stand, a display stand for this. Now you kind of have to pull this apart to get this thing down in there, but we can do that. So there you go. And then that is just a little stand so that you can kind of stand it up. And then I'm guessing he powers it up. Let's see what we can do with this. Maybe something, I don't know how he does it in the show, but he's powering it up and then he's probably launching it at somebody. So that's what this is. I guess maybe this is it like cutting into the ground and so it's kicking up some dirt or something. Maybe that's what that's supposed to be. But that's kind of neat. You know, it's an extra accessory. It's something that they didn't have to include, but I think that's kind of cool if this is some kind of attack he does on the show. It's interesting that you can simulate it. Makes for a cool display piece. I don't know that it's necessarily something that would add play value, but it would definitely add display value. So for collectors, I think that makes sense. So I think that's kind of cool. I think that's neat that they included that. It's very colorful. I think this is the correct side. The other side's a little bit subdued, but you could probably do it from either direction. Honestly, you can still see it from the other side, but I think it's actually painted on this side because this just looks a little bit more crisp and vibrant. And this looks a little bit more kind of subdued. So I think it is actually painted on this side. But yeah, so you have that little whirling attack wheel. So kind of cool. I think this is a pretty cool figure. Like I said, if you're into this line, I think this is probably one of the best ones they've ever done in terms of the detailing and the paint and the accessories that are included. They've really come a long way. If you look at kind of the first releases where they started, the line now includes accessories. You know, they're doing a little bit more paint than we're used to. Still not getting any paint on the back, which is a bummer, but the paint on the head looks fantastic. All the paint here on the body. I really like the translucent plastic they used over here. Again, I wish they could have done it for the hand. I'm assuming that's just kind of a manufacturing limitation, and it just wasn't possible to make it sturdy and solid enough out of that kind of plastic. At least that's my guess. But having to cake that paint on that hand and and this piece here for the Fadoran attachment, it just, you know, they really have to glob it on, and then it kind of makes it look sloppy, even though they don't mean it to. It's just kind of an unfortunate side effect of having to paint, you know, plastic that's very dark in color. Although, I mean, honestly, the hand would have been light gray, so I don't know why they globbed on that much. I guess just better safe than sorry. They wanted to make sure that they got the color through, but again, the inside of the fingers not being painted is kind of hysterical. You can still see that it's supposed to be, well, it was gray plastic underneath. But yeah, so it's a good figure, and I think it's one of the better ones in the line. I feel like the line has definitely improved over time. For me, they just, you know, they're using that same base configuration with no waist articulation, no thigh articulation. I still don't like the hands, that system of the two fingers. I feel like the arms change for Gaim had those, and that was over 10 years ago at this point. So I feel like they could do something else, but then they'd probably have to be a little bit more expensive, which, you know, but do I want to pay that a little bit more? I don't know. It really just depends what you're into. I'm starting to kind of gravitate more towards the Chodo line because it's more the scale I like to collect, and it has the extra hands, it has the accessories, it has that extra articulation that I like. But again, that's not to say this is a bad line. It's just, what size figure do you like to collect? If you're into something that's roughly in the 6-inch area, I think this is a nice line. It's not super expensive. They're not Figuarts. These usually run anywhere from, like, I've seen some as cheap as like $13. I've seen some as expensive as $25, $30. It depends on how many accessories and things they come with, or if you wait for a sale, something like that. So it's kind of a nice budget line that's kind of an alternative to Figuarts, because I would say these are probably around the same size as Figuarts. So it's kind of a nice budget alternative for that. So if you're looking at Figuarts and you just wish they weren't so expensive, this would be the line for you. If you're looking for something that has a little bit better articulation and still has the accessories at a smaller scale, I think Chodo would be the way to go for that. I do have one or two Chodo reviews. I'll put one of them, my most recent one, at the end of this, so you can kind of see a comparison. I think Blazar was in one of those, the base form of Blazar, so I'll find that one. In any case, this is a good figure for what it is. It's not perfect, but again, you know, the limitations that it has have been throughout this entire line. So as long as you know what you're getting yourself into, I think you'll enjoy this figure. It looks great, I'll give it that, with the exception of that one hand, but it's not terrible. But I mean, I love the head. I think the armor, the translucent plastic, looks fantastic. So it is a cool form. I wish Blazar had more form changes throughout the show. They really kind of held back on his like power-ups and form changes and things. I prefer when they do more stuff, but that's just my personal opinion. But we'll see what happens with the next one. Apparently the next one's going to be called Arc. So I missed that. I just got told the other day by a couple friends that the next one is Ultraman Arc. They trademarked that a little bit ago. So I'm excited. We'll see what they come up with, and hoping we'll see some pictures probably in the next month or so. If those usually start in July, usually that stuff starts to show up March, April, something like that. So we'll see. But in any case, this is a pretty decent figure. If you've been collecting this line, I definitely think it's one of the best ones they've done. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you still buying Ultra Action figure? Do you know Chodo? Have you got any of that? You know, let me know what your thoughts are. Do you get both? Some people probably get both. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.